Hey guys, welcome back to yet another marvelous video. It's almost time to clock back in for another terrifying night shift at Freddy Fazbear's. Five Nights at Freddy's 2 is officially on the way, and it's shaping up to be even darker and wilder than the first one. This sequel, which is directed once again by Emma Tammi, picks up the twisted story that began in the first film, based on Scott Cawthon's iconic video game series. So before all this, let's take a look at the only recap you need before watching Five Nights at Freddy's 2. Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin. Welcome to Freddy Fazbear's The Setup. Our story begins in an abandoned pizzeria. A security guard is shown working the night shift at the old Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, a once bustling family restaurant, now covered in dust and silence. The opening scene shows him caught inside a spring lock mechanism, one of the deadly animatronic suits, quickly setting the film's tone with his death. The monitor cuts to a pixelated, vintage video showing Freddy's in its glory days. 5 kids at a birthday party, and a yellow rabbit mascot leading them away, one by one. It's a strange and haunting image that lingers long after the scene fades. From there, we meet Mike Schmidt, the real heart of the story. Mike, played by Josh Hutcherson, is exhausted, haunted, and clearly holding himself together by a thread. Every morning at 6 a.m. he wakes up from another nightmare, the same one, over and over, and drags himself to his day job as a mall security guard, protective of his little sister, Abby. She's a bright, imaginative girl who spends most of her time drawing, though she seems to have a world of her own that even Mike does not fully understand. Mike isn't just tired from life, he's tormented by a traumatic past. Years ago, his younger brother Garrett was kidnapped right in front of him. He's never been able to forgive himself. In his dreams, he tries to relive that moment, hoping to remember some detail that could help him find Garrett's abductor. He even studies dream theory, convinced that his subconscious holds the key. But these dreams are not peaceful. They're filled with fear and an endless loop of guilt. One day at work, Mike's bottled up frustration explodes. He sees a man struggling with a child in the mall and, believing it's a kidnapping, he attacks him, to realize too late that it's the boy's father. The mistake costs him his job, leaving him broke and desperate, no income and a child to care for. Mike visits an employment counselor named Steve Raglan, played by Matthew Lillard. Steve studies Mike's file and reacts strangely to his last name, as if recognizing it. Then he offers Mike a new opportunity, a night security position at an old restaurant called Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. Mike isn't thrilled. The job sounds lonely, the pay is awful, and he's reluctant to leave Abby alone overnight. Still, Steve hands him a business card and tells him to think about it. That evening, Mike returns home to find Abby's babysitter, Max, keeping an eye on her. Max is friendly but has an unsettling energy, something that feels slightly off. Abby, as usual, is lost in her drawing, sketching strange figures that look suspiciously like people or things that should not exist. When Mike sits on her bed, Abby scolds him, warning that he's sitting on her invisible friend. Mike brushes it off, too tired to argue, unaware of how significant her imaginary friend will become later. That night, Mike dreams again. It's a warm picnic scene with his family that quickly turns into a nightmare. His mother's voice fades as Garrett is suddenly gone, dragged into the back seat of a car. Mike chases after it, but can never catch up, and the dream ends like it always does, in silence and helplessness. The next morning, Mike faces a new problem. Aunt Jane, a cold and greedy relative who wants to take custody of Abby for herself. She doesn't care about the girl, only about the government checks that come with it. The social worker isn't convinced by Jane's act, but warns Mike that unless he can hold a steady job, he might lose his sister. With no other choice, Mike calls Steve Raglan back and accepts the job at Freddy Fazbear. When he arrives, Steve explains that the restaurant has been shut down since the 1980s, after several unexplained disappearances. The owner couldn't bring himself to demolish it. He's clinging to the memories of what it once was. Now, it's just an abandoned place. The lights barely work, the air smells like rust and old pizza, and the security system is so outdated that the cameras flicker with static every few seconds. But the place isn't as empty as it looks. The animatronic horrors awaken. Mike's first night at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza starts off uneasily when he sits down in the dimly lit security office. He finds an old videotape labeled with his name. He puts it in curiously. The tape greets him with a friendly but unsettling welcome to Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, clearly made decades ago. And right as it is about to introduce the stars of the show, Freddy and the gang, it cuts off abruptly. The atmosphere is tense and strangely cold. Suddenly, Mike notices something out of the corner of his eye. A creepy little figure that wasn't there before. It's a small animatronic toy with a frozen grin. The balloon boy. The jump scare almost sends Mike through the roof. Trying to shake it off, he decides to walk through the building to get a sense of the place. He wanders past the old stage where the main animatronics, Freddy, Bonnie, Chica and Foxy stand frozen in their performance poses. Their eyes seem to follow him in the dark, but Mike shrugs it off as just the weird vibe of being alone in an abandoned pizzeria. He returns to the security room, trying to stay calm and professional. But the first night doesn't stay quiet for long. While drifting off, Mike once again dreams about his missing younger brother Garrett. But this dream is different. 5 ghostly children appear behind him and suddenly run off. Mike chases them, but he trips and falls, waking up abruptly in confusion. This wasn't the usual replay of his trauma. Something was changing in these dreams, as if the kids were trying to tell him something. The next morning, Mike switches roles with Max, Abby's babysitter, before heading out. Meanwhile, at a local diner, there's a shady meeting between Max, her brother Jeff, and Mike's greedy Aunt Jane. Their plan is simple but vile. Find a way to ruin Mike's life so Jane can take custody of Abby and claim her monthly check. Jeff and his crew even consider killing Mike, but Jane stops short of that. Instead, they agree to break into Freddy's and wreck the place, hoping it will get Mike fired. That night, Mike takes sleeping medication before heading back to work. Abby begs to come with, but he refuses, leaving her home again with Max, who of course is secretly plotting behind his back. At Freddy's, Mike falls asleep again and dreams of the children. This time, he actually reaches one of them, but before he can speak, the child's face twists with rage, and his eyes turn blood red as he attacks Mike with a hook. Mike jolts awake, heart pounding, to find the words, "It's me," scrawled on a dusty mirror. The pizzeria's bell suddenly rings, and a police officer named Vanessa walks in. She's friendly but seems to know more than she lets on. Vanessa helps patch Mike up after seeing his injuries and warns him that no guard ever lasts long at this job, mostly because of the strange disappearances linked to the place. She tells him how much she loved coming here as a kid and shows him the animatronics in action by pressing the showtime button. Freddy, Bonnie, Chica, and Foxy come to life, singing their cheerful jingle, but the performance suddenly stops after an electrical flick. Vanessa gives Mike a Freddy Fazbear pin and advises him not to get too curious about the pizzeria's path. By morning, Vanessa and Mike leave, but as soon as they're gone, Jeff, Max's brother, and his gang sneak into the restaurant, carrying out their plan to wreck the place and pin it on Mike. They do not expect, however, that the animatronics have minds of their own, and they're not happy. In the kitchen, one of the thugs named Carl finds a small animatronic cupcake, Mr. Cupcake, staring at from the fridge. Before he realizes what's happening, Chica lures him into a trap. Cupcake violently attacks, killing him. Hank, another injured, witnesses the gruesome scene and hides in a storage room, only to be ambushed by Bonnie, who leaves a bloody handprint on the window. Jeff soon encounters both Chica and Bonnie, tries to seal himself inside the control room, and spots Cupcake crawling through the vents. He barely has time to react before Foxy charges down the hallway and kills him. Max waits in the car outside, growing impatient. When no one returns, she heads inside. And that's her biggest mistake. A small child appeared, and she follows him deeper into the pizzeria, thinking he's lost. The child leads her straight to Freddy himself. When she leans closer to inspect the animatronic, a hand shoots out of Freddy's mouth, grabbing her and pulling her inside. The next day, Mike returns home unaware of the massacre. He gives Abby the Freddy's pin from Vanessa. Later, Vanessa storms into his house, furious that he's been taking pills at work, and accuses him of letting people break into the pizzeria. Mike, desperate and exhausted, tells her the truth, that he's been using dreams to find his brother's kidnapper. He explains that his mother's death and father's breakdown left him as Abby's only protector. Seeing his pain, Vanessa softens, throws away his pill, and warns him to stop before things get worse. That night, unable to reach Max, Mike reluctantly brings Abby to Freddy's. She's thrilled at first, treating it like an adventure. Mike builds her a small blanket fort in the office before starting his shift. As he works, he again spots Balloon Boy and discovers a bloodstain left behind by the intruders but brushes it off. But things take a strange turn when one of the ghostly children wakes Abby and leads her through the pizzeria. She wanders into the main hall and finds the animatronics stirring to life, with Freddy slowly waking from his slumber. Meanwhile, Mike is stuck in another one of his haunting dreams, where one of the ghost children leaves him a clue, a drawing of a rabbit. He jolts awake to the sound of Abby's screams and races into the main hall, only to find her surrounded by the animatronics, whom she befriends. Freddy steps forward, but Abby intervenes, calming them down before anything happens. Mike is shaken, but he begins to piece things together. The children in his dream are the same spirits trapped inside these machines. Abby draws a heart for them, a gesture of peace, and the siblings head home. Later that night, Mike notices Abby's drawings, one showing the children from his dreams, and another showing his brother Garrett's kidnapping. When he asks who told her about it, Amy admits the children are actually Freddy, Bonnie, Chica, and Foxy. Mike tells her to ask them about Garrett's kidnapper. The next night, Vanessa shows up early. She stares at a drawing of a yellow rabbit on the wall, and finally tells Mike the truth. The animatronics are possessed by the spirits of missing children, which is why they draw so much. To lighten things up, Abby, Mike, Vanessa, and the animatronics spend time building a massive blanket fort in the hall, complete with a funny moment where Bonnie slips and crashes backward. For a brief moment, Things almost feel normal. Later, Mike pulls Vanessa aside, trying to get more answers. She reveals that the older animatronic suits once had internal spring mechanisms, deadly contraptions that could crush the wearer if they malfunctioned. Those were later removed, but it is clear she knows a lot more than she's letting on. When Mike presses further, Vanessa snaps, warning him not to dig any deeper into the pizzeria's past. The situation takes another dark turn when Bonnie's guitar malfunctions, electrocuting Abby. Vanessa is furious with Mike for bringing his sister into danger and warns him that if he brings her to Freddy's again, she will not hesitate to stop him herself. On the final night, Mike calls his aunt to stay with Abby so he can face whatever is haunting Freddy's once and for all. Abby feels betrayed but stays behind. Mike takes sleeping pills to confront the ghost children in his dreams. They offer him a twisted deal. He can stay in this dream world forever with his lost family, his mother, father, and Garrett, but only if Abby joins them. At first, he gives in, but guilt takes over, and he refuses. So the children turn violent and attack him. Mike wakes up tied to a chair in the workshop, facing a horrifying device, the same saw trap that killed the first security guard. He barely manages to unscrew a piece of the chair and shut the machine off in time, escaping death by seconds. But when he looks around, he finds the lifeless bodies of Max, Jeff, and the others who broke into Freddy's earlier. He runs for his life, but is soon cornered by Foxy. Meanwhile, back home, one of the animatronics appears that wakes Abby. One of the ghost children urges her to follow it back to the pizzeria, thinking it's Freddy. She agrees, but the child warns her it is not him. The film doesn't spell it out, but this mysterious animatronic is Golden Freddy, a ghostly entity that can appear and disappear at will. On his way out, Golden Freddy kills Aunt Jane, freeing Abby to take a taxi back to Freddy's. When Abby arrives, she walks through the empty halls, calling for Mike. Behind her, Golden Freddy vanishes into thin air. Meanwhile, Mike wakes up in the police storage room, bandaged and weak. Vanessa found him and managed to patch him up. The truth behind the pizzeria. When Mike tells Vanessa about his latest dream, everything changes. She finally breaks down and decides to tell him the truth. The animatronics, she says, want to make Abby one of them. Vanessa explains that back in the 1980s, several children went missing after visiting Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. Their disappearances were never solved, and their bodies were never found. But the horrifying truth is that they were murdered, and their killer hid their remains inside the animatronic mascots. Over time, the spirits of those children took over the machines, turning them into haunted shells of what they once were. They have been controlled and manipulated ever since, and now, under someone's dark influence, they want to take Abby too. Vanessa shows Mike an old photograph. In it, she's a little girl, smiling beside a man wearing a yellow rabbit costume, her father, William Afton. Mike stares at the picture, his heart sinking as he notices something. In Vanessa's hand is a small toy plane, the same plane that his younger brother Garrett had the day he vanished. He realized that William Afton was the one who kidnapped and murdered Garrett. And now, Mike's in danger of losing Abby to the same monster. Vanessa says she's going to face her father at the old pizzeria. Despite her warning, Mike follows her. Sneaking in through the building's ventilation ducts, he sees Chica leading Abby to the back of the stage. Mike tries to stay hidden, but the floor creaks under his foot. The animatronics start to stir. He throws water at Freddy and Bonnie's feet, then uses one of the electric weapons to shock them. Chica is just about to shove Abby inside one of the empty animatronic suits when Mike bursts in and fires at her, knocking her down. He grabs Abby, but their escape is short-lived. Out of nowhere, Mr. Cupcake lunges at Mike, biting and clawing. Abby screams as Mike struggles to fight it off. He tells her to run, and she does, sprinting through the dark corridors as Foxy starts chasing her. Abby dives into the ball pit, trying to hide as Foxy comes nearby. Then, Vanessa appears just as Foxy is about to strike, saving Abby at the last second. After everything she has kept hidden, she's finally doing the right thing. Mike manages to destroy Cupcake, but before he can reach the others, he comes face to face with the true evil behind it all, William Afton. Wearing the yellow rabbit suit, Mike fires an electric blast at him, but it has no effect. The suit's metal frame insulates Afton, leaving him completely unharmed. A smug grin spreads across his face as he mocks Mike for thinking he could stop him. He kicks Mike to the ground and towers over him, relishing the fear in his eyes. Then he confesses the truth. He was the one who took Garrett all those years ago. He murdered Mike's little brother, and now he plans to finish what he started by killing him too. As Mike lies bruised and beaten, the animatronics begin to stir again. The situation goes out of control. Vanessa shows up, pleading with her father to stop, begging him to let them go. But William refuses. He removes his mask, and Mike's stomach drops when he sees the familiar face beneath it, Steve Raglan, the man who hired him for the night shift job. Afton had been hiding in plain sight the whole time, using a fake name to lure victims back to the pizzeria. Vanessa, torn between anger and guilt, raises her gun and shoots her father. The bullet hits, but it barely slows him down. The suit protects him. William turns on her in rage and brutally attacks his own daughter. As Vanessa collapses to the ground, Mike realizes just how far Afton is willing to go to keep his dark secret buried.
They can see you now. They know what you did.
The final confrontation and aftermath. Mike urges Abby to pay close attention to her drawings, explaining that they hold the key to communicating with the animatronics and getting them to trust her. Realizing what must be done, Abby creates a new drawing that finally reveals the truth. She replaces her earlier sketch of the children happily playing with Afton, with one showing how he really killed them. With Abby's help, Mike turns on the lights and exposes the drawings to the animatronics. The realization hits them like a wave. They see the truth of what was done to them, that the man they trusted was the one who ended their lives. Afton desperately tries to regain control, shouting that they belong to him and that he created them. But it's too late. The animatronics, now fully aware of his lies, go against him. Cupcake attacks first, triggering the spring mechanisms inside Afton's suit. The sharp metal coils snap violently into place, piercing through his body piece by piece. As the machinery crushes and traps him, Afton accepts his fate. He places the rabbit mask back on, muttering that he will return, no matter what. Mike, Abby, and the wounded Vanessa barely escape the building. The once cheerful Freddy Fazbear's Pizza is now nothing more than a tomb. In the aftermath, Abby begins to heal. Her time with the animatronics and uncovering the truth restores her confidence. She's doing better in school and no longer feels so alone. Vanessa survives her injuries and slowly recovers in the hospital. One quiet day, back at home, Abby turns to her brother and asks if they will ever visit Freddy and his friends again. Mike smiles softly and tells her that they never know what can happen. The story closes with William Afton, half dead and trapped in his spring-locked suit, writhing in agony in a dark corner of the storage room. One of the ghostly children stands nearby, silently watching him before closing the door, leaving him locked inside forever. As the credits roll, a brief scene shows Balloon Boy popping up to scare a taxi driver. And in the last few seconds, a faint whisper echoes through the darkness, spelling out the words, "Come find me." Marvelous verdict. Well, with that, guys, we've come to the end of yet another fun video. I hope you all enjoyed it. Now I want to hear more from you. Are you guys excited for the sequel? What are the things that you expect from it? Let us know your thoughts in the comments section below. If you enjoyed watching this, do remember to like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more. Thanks for watching. Until next time. Until next time.